I recently watched a video where Alisa Childers interviewed David Young about a book he has written where he criticizes what he terms progressive Christianity for undermining biblical faith. In a short segment of the video, the discussion turns to evolution. I think their conversation highlights some misconceptions that conservative Christians have about evolution and about Christians who affirm evolution. Let's take a look at the interview and I'll respond with some comments. Hey there, I'm John and welcome to my channel. We believe that you can be a faithful follower of Jesus and have a high regard for Scripture and not reject modern science. Okay, so I'll play the short segment on evolution in its entirety and stop to comment. Here we go.
And this brings us to the next tenet of theological liberalism, which is Darwin and the Bible. Talk a bit about that one.
So note that right away the context here is that evolution is a tenet of theological liberalism. But this really shouldn't be a left-right issue. This is the study of God's creation. It is science. If someone looks at the evidence for evolution and is convinced by it, that doesn't make them liberal or conservative. I lean conservative generally, yet I believe in evolution.
Yeah, so when Darwinianism hit the English-speaking world right in the middle of the 19th century, I mean, it just came like a meteor, and suddenly everything had to be rethought. At the very beginning of Darwin, they didn't really plug into what was being argued, but within about 10 or 15 years of the publication of this Origin of the Species, all of a sudden you had to rethink, okay, what does this say about the scriptures? What does this say about the creation account? What does it say about humanity? So if humans really are descended from other species, then obviously Genesis 1 and 2 can no longer be trusted, certainly not as historical narratives at least.
He mentions that things had to be rethought, like how we interpret early Genesis. Yes, lots and lots of evidence came to light in the 1800s, and since then it keeps pouring in. And when you get new information, you check your assumptions. That's a good thing. It can result in a better understanding of Scripture. If loads of evidence points to evolution and to a non-literal genre for early Genesis, we should respond by reevaluating the literal interpretation of early Genesis. And Genesis 1 and 2 can indeed be trusted, just not as historical narratives, but as something better and more profound.
And so, again, those who were elites, and progressivism has always been mostly a white North American elitist religion. Those who were elites, desperate to fit in, again, to a secular age, begin to look for ways to rewrite Scripture or to reinterpret Scripture so as to feel as though they're fitting into the science of the age, to fit into the period and the more sophisticated theories.
Yeah, what to say here? Elites. Well, to be fair, he's talking about the late 1800s, but many would say the same about Christians who affirm evolution today. As for myself and the brothers and sisters I know who affirm evolution, we don't do so in order to fit in. We don't do so to hang out at the cool, hip cocktail parties. We affirm evolution because we have seriously considered the evidence and we are convinced by it. And by the way, we see God's glory in the elegant way he chooses to create. And about rewriting or reinterpreting Scripture. Rewriting cannot be done. God has spoken, and I submit to his word. I don't rewrite it because that would make it my word and thus meaningless. Reinterpreting, though, can help us better understand Scripture, correcting human error, especially if there is legitimate new information. For example, it used to be thought that the Bible taught that the sun revolved around the earth. Then those passages were reinterpreted.
So Darwin really undermined a lot of the Old Testament.
I don't think so. I think he just helped us better establish the genre of early Genesis. We should thank him for that.
And not only that, but he actually challenged what it means to be human. Because if we're not creating in the image of God, if we really are descended from other species, then suddenly being human means something very different than if we were created from God, given a spark of God in us, for the purpose of God and to be redeemed by God, very different purposes. So Darwin undermined a lot of anthropology in Scripture, so to speak.
So this is another misconception. I think it is a mistake to conflate how we were made with why we were made. Being made in the image of God is not related to how we were made. It is related to why we were made, our purpose. We were made to represent God on this earth and to be in relationship with him. Evolution doesn't change that. Well, that's it for now. If you enjoyed the content, hit the like button and consider subscribing. Until next time, God bless.